Hello, and welcome to Fun with Skylights. Um, so as you can see from this AutoCAD file, I'm looking at some various geometries and trying to update a very old design for new conditions. A little bit different geometry, so some of the old stuff is still there, but some new things are included. New codes, new lengths of bars, and that does have an impact, and we've been working hard to keep it the same. And I have been successful to keep the top of glass to top of steel at 5.5 inches. But I did have to make the bar here wider. I had to make it 3 inches wide in order to resist some of the snow load, because now they have more established criteria for doing snow as opposed to 20 years ago. It was all kind of up in the air. So I've been playing with it and changing a few things, but I think the changes will be acceptable to whoever might review it. So let's kind of run through where we had the biggest problem. For now, I'm keeping the same connection drawn underneath, and the snow, surprisingly enough, is what was controlling most of what we did. And we've got the bar here, had to get wider to get us enough stiffness in the weak axis direction. And we've got it. This shape does work. We thought we could take a worst case for the 9 that we're looking at right now. But that didn't work. We had to kind of split it into an A and a B option, but we got it to work for both. And it would work for the older canopies as well with that geometry. Now, whether or not we can get aluminum, seeing as it seems the year 2022 is closed for making aluminum now, but we're working on that. So we've got our drip edge, same piece goes in. We kept the same basic shape to the bar, except we're going to extrude a fin in the top, and we're going to let that fin be extruded taller like this dashed line. Sorry about that, had to sneeze. So we want to make the shape taller. We want it to be, I'm just going to pull it, basically that shape there. And that's going to give us a lot of things that I think are very positive changes. So we'd extrude it like this, and this top can be milled to leave the tabs come out of the bar. It also can be left to do our rain diverter at the eyebrow. It really does give us a lot of benefits. So we want to do this shape. We have the added width. It's 3. I checked. All the steel is 4, so we're still within. And it's 3 inches going either way side, so I'm a 1/4 inch further to the side. That's all. I've made the rafter bars similar width, which gave us a little bit more room for the glass. Not that we need it, because the flatter shape keeps our glass closer to rectangles than ever before. We have a little filler piece in here. And other than that, it's pretty much the same as well. We just made it a little bit wider. And then ran that down. This would be basically our eave bar with the same cope detail that we did to get the miters. So how did we control the snow? There's a couple things to go over here. If we look at the current drawings, they're calling for an 1.25 inch diameter snow guard. If you remember before, in the first prototypes, it was 5/8 diameter, and we used a piece of tubing. And then on our system, we ran that in 20-foot lengths so we could cold form it through multiple supports. As far as I know, that was very successful. They didn't come loose because they were multiple supports. So one might get push, but it had a backspan to pry against. We would like to keep that 5/8 because I cannot cold form an 1.25 inch diameter. I found some tubing in the shop. I could maybe go to 7/8, but only if we keep the wall thickness of a tube down to like 0.60, which is still pretty strong, and maybe that would work. But we've actually gone to where we're not even sure we need these anymore, because these tabs that get the snow, oops, what did I do? I think I went too far. If we let them take all the snow for the canopy at the curb, and this is drawn a little flat, this might work at Smithsonian, but most of them it's a little bit steeper, closer to 30 degrees. If we let all the snow pile up at the curb, the bar has to get deeper as well as wider. So we thought, why don't we make these tabs work the way people actually control snow and add them everywhere? Because if you've ever seen snow control, they put these little tabs on roofs in a pattern throughout the whole canopy, and then you spread the load from retaining the snow evenly amongst the structure. And when we did that, that kept our bar to where we have it right now with the 3-inch width, and we didn't really even need this at all to account for the snow. So we think we can make it be 5/8 like they were before and do the same details as what we had the last time. Now, this is drawn, so it's going to be hard to get that approved through the reviewing authorities without some help. So I just am asking what that is thought of. But going back to here, I've gone a little further and I actually have modeled it. You have to bear with me because this gets a little bit glitchy. It's a big file. And I put the tabs in. You'll see I made them red and blue so they really stick out for now. So we did the 3 at the curb per the drawing, but then the next one up we would do 4 to kind of stagger them between, then back to 3, and then we would go to 4, and we can kind of spread it out through the whole skylight. Now if we do leave the rod in, I have to make the tab in here a little bit longer for getting a little more weld. I don't have all the frame turned on because it gets too awkward to turn this thing around. So, but here's our basic bracket with a 5/8 OD round in there. And then when we get to the corner, because I'm extruding this fin up to cut these tabs out, I could make the corner look kind of cool. So this is our rain diverter side, and I can make a little tab on one side and then miter it into the other one. And then because that fin is part of the bar, it still misaligns tight a little bit, but it's way better than that sheet metal version that we did before. And it's part of the extrusion. So that works really good. And then we can run these tabs out to here. Now this is the high side, and I think that came out pretty good. And then we'll bend the tube down to the curb side, and we can do it there as well. Now for now, I'm not showing the pipe around the tail of the skylight. I don't think it's really necessary because we've got the tabs milled out here. I can add it if I need to, and what I'm planning to do if we do is put a collar that can rotate on this tube with a stub coming out to pick up the tube that we would cold form around the backside. That way it's not quite so rigid and it's got a little bit more freedom. And I thought if I run the pipes through, this is similar to what we did, I can actually tap the end of it and then put a round-headed 1/2-inch screw in here to make a end cap, which will capture it even better than it was before. Before we had a welded end plate, and it'll be nicer if we can just put a screw in the end and capture it and leave it kind of float, so that if it has to give a little bit it can, but then it'll spring right back into place. So my concern is that all these tabs will not be acceptable, and that's what this video is about, is to show all the tabs. I think it's a good way to go. It works how snow is controlled on other buildings. And because we have to remake the extrusions because all of our tooling has disappeared over the years, it's easy to make that fin a little taller and cut out the tabs right out of the bar. So I think that's a real good way to go. We've still got our same miter detail here, and that's worked well. It's flatter, so the tiny misalignment that we get is even less than before. And we still have a nice clean miter here, and the drip edge goes good. This one is a nice clean miter. So everything is still working the same. And then we just have some tabs added to it. The diverter being part of the extrusion looks nice. And then I just made this little corner to kind of terminate it so it doesn't just stop randomly. I basically just took our tab and then just made a cut like this. The beauty of CNC programming is we put it in and then we just run the bar and it'll cut all that for us. Could not have done this 20 years ago. And then down here, it's a long walk. We did kind of a similar detail to make it look good, and we just went a little ways up to kind of mimic the other end, but not get. We want to let water drain off too. So, and then I put 2 tabs per going up, and I think we're pretty close. I made these the same as what was a typical. When you kind of rotate it, this one lines up in that gap there. These are pretty close to that. So it has a certain rhyme and reason when you look up at it. And that's about it. I think after that I'm just rambling on. So, small pipes, tabs everywhere, same drip edge, bars are wider. For now the support's the same. Alright, that was it. I would like to know any thoughts. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon, I guess.